this kind of attribute. I want to go with laser. If you click on playing, you should be able to hear it. You can also adjust the volume and do other things with it, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. All we have to figure out now is how to play the sound. For that, I want to get the laser sound and then simply play it. That's all we need. If I now run the game, cool, that works just fine. With that, we can do the final exercise of this series. I want you guys to add all of the music files to the game. I think the name explains what they are going to do. So pause the video now and try to figure this one out on your own.
I don't think I have music on here. That's a remix that I made, but it's not, I don't know. I could throw it in, I guess. No. Oh my gosh, I don't understand why it does that. Okay. I'm gonna actually try and see if I can survive. So I'm gonna do this on quickly. What? Crap. Probably not. Oh my gosh. The song's like 6.5 minutes, I just realized. Oh man. Alright. I mean, if someone survives, I guess I could have it autoplay. Hang on. Would that mean, let me just put on like this instead, just to see. Yeah, it only plays once. Let me see what he does.
First of all, inside of the player, we're going to need one more sound, which means I want to have another audio stream player 2D that I'm going to rename to collision sound. Or rather, to be a bit closer to the file name damage sound. Because in there, I want to have damage.ogg. File, I want to go to quick load and then load damage.ogg. You could also drag the file in there, same thing. However, now we have a bit of a problem because the collision between the meteors and the player happens inside of the level. Specifically, we are looking at this line here. If that is the case, then I want to play the sound. This we can work with fairly easily. All we need is the player, and then we can run a function on it. For example, play collision sound. And now this method does not exist, but we can create it. We need func and then play collision sound without any argument. And all we want to do in here is going to be the damage
put all of the
sound
on the
and play it.
Player scene.
And now if we play all of that, we should be having a damage sound.
Oh no.
And that is working. Not the most amazing sound, but it definitely works. Next up, I want to play explosion.wav. This happens when we are destroying a meteor. We want to play this one on area entered, although this isn't going to work right away. But step by step. First of all, inside of the meteor, I want to add one more audio stream player, and let's call it the explosion sound. Then once again, via quick load, we want to get the explosion.wav. For that one, we have an explosion. And to play it, I want to do it before we are destroying the node and get explosion sound and play it. Now this is not going to work, but let's just confirm. And indeed, we get the other sounds, but we cannot hear an explosion. And the reason for that is we are trying to play the sound, and then right after, we are destroying the node. As a consequence, the sound is also getting deleted before it has a chance to play. Now, there are a couple of ways around that. The one you should have learned from this tutorial is that you could have a signal being emitted from the meteor once the meteor gets destroyed, and then play the sound inside of the level, and that way you can keep the sound file, at least for a bit. That would be a perfectly good way of doing it, but there is another way that is a bit faster. And that is something we haven't seen yet, but the method is called await. And this one awaits a certain kind of event. And what I want to await is I want to get the tree, and then we can create a timer with a certain duration. And this one would be in seconds. So I want to wait 1 second and then wait for the timeout.
That's what I should have done when I was doing, which one was it? Well, I should have done it on a lot of them, I guess. Anyway.
That way, we are only destroying the node after 1 second. And during this time, we can play the sound. Now this isn't going to work amazingly yet. So we get the sound, but the meteor doesn't disappear, so not amazing. Also, the duration here might be a bit long, let's say 0.5. Now, all we really have to do is hide the sprite and the collision, or disable the collision rather, and then it doesn't really matter if this meteor still exists or not. So what we can do is simply get the sprite 2D and hide it. All we have to figure out afterwards is how to disable the collision. And for that, well, we can simply create another attribute. Let's call this one, I guess we can put it below the collision, var can collide. And by default, this one should be true. After that, when the body is emitting the collision, this is the collision with the player. We only want to allow this if can collide is true. And if it is not, which we are setting down here, so can collide is false, then we are not going to get any collision. Let's try this one. And now we should be back to what we had before. And that is working pretty good. We also get the other collisions. Cool, that is working. Although I think the sound should be a bit longer, so we await for, I guess 1 second is fine. The duration here really doesn't matter anymore. So now I can run out of this again, and finally we get the proper collision behavior between the meteors and the lasers. Now this is a bit of a hacky way, but it certainly works, and it's a nice trick if you have something fairly simple. Trying to delete a node while playing some kind of deaf sound is a really common thing you are going to do in Godot. And this way, you don't have to work with signals to keep the sound after the node is gone. Can be super handy. Alright, but anyway, the last two things we have are the game music and the title music. And those we can start with in the level. In there, I want to have an audio stream player, not the 2D one, although once again, for our purposes, it doesn't matter. Let's call this one the music. And for this one, once again, in the stream, I want to quick load the game music. Let's play. And that definitely works, although might be a bit loud.
I forgot I could test it in here.
Just play around with this and see what you like. Also, this we want to set to autoplay. With that, I can run the game, and we should be having music.
Okay, yeah, I didn't need to have that line in there.
Alright, cool. That works. Next up then, inside of the game over screen, we have to do something similar, audio stream player, and this can also be the music.
Oh, I wonder if it would actually loop had I had the, had I not had that code there. So like now, if I swap it. Nope.
Music. For that, we are going to do the same thing, quick load and title music. Probably with a lower volume. Something like this. And this one should also autoplay. Let's try this one particular scene. And
let me see what else I might have. heck? What is going on? I think this is glitched. Hmm. Sorry if this is loud. No. I go now. There we go. Whoops. Let me come up with a asteroid destruction noise. I'm just gonna use a signal. I don't see anything wrong with that. Whoops. Hmm. What the heck? What in the world? Why is this so laggy? It's so weird. What? What? F up. Come on. So annoying. That's pretty good. Okay, sure. Oh. Oh, wait a minute. Gosh. Oh. Wait. Wow. What the heck? Wait. Whoops. Oh my gosh. Right. I keep forgetting. Okay. Asteroids are created in code. So it's to do this. I guess I'll do it the way he did it then. Man.
Next up then, inside of the game over screen, to work with signals to keep this again, and finally we get the let's try or disable the collision rather, and then is I want to, and that way you can keep the sound file, at least for a bit. That would be a perfectly good way of doing it, but there is another way that is a bit faster. And that is something we haven't seen yet, but the method is called await. And this one awaits a certain kind of event. And what I want to await is I want to get the tree, and then we can create a timer with a certain duration. And this one would be in seconds. So I want to wait 1 second and then wait for the timeout. That way, we are only destroying the node after 1 second. And during this time, we can play the sound. Now, this isn't going to work amazingly yet. So we get the sound, but the meteor
I didn't even hear it.
doesn't disappear.
Hang on. What? Oh. Right. It's process delta. Okay. Wait. Oh boy. Oh, goodness. Yeah, that makes a huge difference. Right. Forgot. It's kind of weird. Um, I feel like they're still going too fast. I don't understand how. This isn't bad. A little bit more. I could just have a local signal, I guess. That would... I feel like that'd be the same thing, but... No, I don't know. It's like, if I put the audio file here to play when asteroid health is less than 0... Nah. I could do... Okay. I could put the signal here. I guess. Still not working. Oh, I didn't get rid of that. Wait, what? Oh gosh, this is really screwed up now. Ah, right, because this is now continuing to add 40 points until the half a second passes, and this goes. Also, what the heck? I don't understand why that doesn't play. That's kind of weird. Ah, and this is healing them. Okay, so... this is way more complicated than what he's doing. Jeez. Yeah, okay. It's the exact same problem because this function is happening nonstop. Oh. Maybe I could attach it to one of these. No. Huh. Wait. Hmm. What if I did like if can shoot is false and um it could be like wait. the heck? Man, I don't know. Just I don't. Wait. Wait, how do I do that? Also, this still doesn't work because it'll just keep trying to do it. It's not like it's subtracting each time. But if I made a variable... Okay, hang on. Yeah, I know. I don't care. I mean, it's never gonna stop complaining about that, is it? Dude, I know. Oh my gosh. Or what if I... Now it's not complaining. Okay. I don't think this is gonna work either. But I don't think that works. maybe I tell it to signal or emit. Because then basically, like, it should just emit once, I believe. Every single time that one gets destroyed. And in that case, I could add the signal function. I don't know if this works, but man. Oh. Wait. Why doesn't that work? so confused. Wait. No. Oh. Oh, I get it. Wow, okay. I don't know why that took me so long. Variable destructions equals float add score divided by 40. There's nothing that's actually like updating this. So like I can just set this to integer and then I need to go back to or here, I'll set it to 0. Go back to level and then be like oh boy. Hang on. Not quite. It's let me move that because basically it's like I think because it's process, if I put anything underneath while, it's just gonna be like print at the same time as it's like emit. Maybe. But like if I put this here, then it does this first, and then it'll still move along the line because it did satisfy this condition before it then like goes back. I don't know. I think that maybe. No. Same thing. Hmm. What happens? What happens here? What the heck? I don't get it. Oh, right. It's okay. Hang on. Okay. Oh man. So the problem I'm having here is that as it reduces global destructions by 1, This is automatically overriding it. If I put that here, would it help? Oh, right. Obviously not. But curious what that will do. I'll have it print. Yeah. Oh, it's so satisfying when you figure stuff out. Alright, I need to turn up the asteroid hit volume. And I could probably turn this one down a little bit. Okay. Well, I'm not using this timer at all, am I? Gosh. don't have a lot of time left, so I might as well finish the video. See what else he does.
This time we can play the sound. Now this isn't going to work amazingly yet. So we get the sound. This is a bit... Next up then, and there's no attribute to loop it. So how can we activate that? And for that, we have to do something slightly weird. I'm not sure why that's the case, but if you look at the scene tree, besides that, we have import. And at the moment, I have the title music selected. And there, during the import, you have loop mode, and there we have detect from WAV. There's also disabled, forward, ping pong, and backwards. In our case, we simply want to restart the...
Wait, what?
music file, which is forward.
What the heck?
Then you can customize the loop, but that's not what we need. We simply want to re-import all of that, and that's all we have to do. Now this file is going to loop.
Okay. That's it? Wait, let me swap it with a different sound. Okay. I don't hear it, but that's because it's too quiet. Okay, cool. It works.
Next up, we have the game music and want to do the same thing for it. So forward for the loop mode and then re-import. And now we are good to go. The music is going to loop. Cool, and that finishes the last part of the main game. Now we have a proper functioning thing. So with that, we can talk about a couple of other things that are a bit more advanced. Although for this game, you don't really need them. First of all, I want to create a camera. And since we want to follow the player, it's going to be in there. Adding a camera in Godot is super easy. All you need is a camera 2D. And this is going to give us one part of the screen, depending on where you put it. So usually, whatever you want to follow is going to have a child as the camera, which also has to be enabled. But now, simply by adding that, we already can follow the player. Now in our case, this isn't going to do very much because we are constraining the player to this area. But if you want to have a larger game, this is what you would be using. So in my case, you could also set the zoom level, you could have an offset, stuff like that. But in my case, I want to have this disabled, so we go back to the default view. Another thing you might...
Aren't all of the asteroids that are in the game just like accumulating? like we never put anything to destroy them, like delete them when they get to the bottom. Like he didn't do that, did he?
Adding that, we already can follow the player. Now in our case, this isn't going to do very much because we are constraining the player to this area.
Yeah, I don't think he put anything to remove them. I feel like that should be... should be anchored, right? What? Shoot. How do I target?
Welcome back. In this part, we are going to create scenes via script. Meteor was added to the scene. If I now run all of this again, which all of the other physics objects, which are also on this layer. This player for me. Finally, we have the level. So, with that, we should have all of the collisions set up properly. Which means now, the player can still collide with the meteors, that is looking good, but the meteors cannot collide with the walls. And later on, once we get lasers, we can also make sure that the lasers collide with the meteors. For now, I'm pretty confident that this is going to work. Next, which I really don't want. So ideally, perfect. All right, finally, there's one more thing that I do want to do. If I go back to the level scene, at the moment we have basically walls around the entire level. And the player can collide with them, but also the meteors are colliding with them, which is not ideal. And because of that, if I run the code again, we get all of these messages that a static body 2D has. To fix that, I want to work inside of the meteor script. At the moment, we only have a basic function for when a body enters. This one we can just ignore, it's not too important. Instead, I want to run some code when we are adding this node to the scene tree, which I can do via the ready function. And just to make sure that this is working, let's print meteor was added to the scene. If I now run all of this again, we...
I don't know. I'm sure he said somewhere. Because what I want to do is, on the level script, have something that checks, like, if something enters this body, then delete the thing that entered it, rather than, like, delete this. But, maybe I can do that later.
But if you want to have a larger game, this is what you would be using. So in my case, you could also set the zoom level, you could have an offset, stuff like that. But in my case, I want to have this disabled, so we go back to the default view. Another thing you might be interested in is a particle 2D effect. And Godot actually has two particles, CPU particles and GPU particles. You probably want to use the GPU particles because those are significantly more powerful. CPU particles are mostly there to make sure you have some kind of backend solution if you port your game to really, really weak hardware. So in our case, let's go with GPU particles. And right away, we are getting an error message that we need to have some kind of material. What that means, if you look on the right, we have a texture, we have a process material, and we have a sub-emitter. The thing we need is a process material, and there you want to have new particle process material. If you click on that, we now have a couple of particles. And if you click on the particle process material, let me drag this one out a bit, you are getting a whole bunch of stuff that you could be working with. For example, we have emission shape. At the moment, this is a point.
Why does it look like you have so many more options there? The heck?
But this probably should be a sphere that we can make it.
What? Hold on. Huh? Dude, what? It looks completely different.
Make a bit larger, even a bit larger, and also I want to move this one down a fair bit. At the end, this is going to be some kind of flame coming out of the player. For example, we can also set this scale, and there's a scale minimum, and probably should be a sphere that at a fair larger, and also I want to move this one down a fair bit maximum, and you do want to be careful with that.
How the heck?
We also have a color, and in my case, I want to make this thing quite a bit red. So I want to have very little of green and blue, but keep it reasonably sized. I guess something like this. I'm not going to be too picky with this because this is not too important. You can also set a color ramp if you click on that, Radiant 1D. And now the further away we are from the origin point, the more of this color we are getting. Once again, this is a thing you want to play around with. Besides that,
Ooh. That's kind of cool. Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me see how this looks.
But I also want to work on the gravity. At the moment, Godot assumes that all of this is a 2D platformer where things are falling down, which is why we have gravity 98, so things are falling down. If we set this to 0, we're not going to have any movement, and we could set this to 100 for x, then things would be moving to the right. In my case, I want to have a gravity of y with, let's say, 20. And then we have something that looks halfway alright, although the GPU particles have to be below the player image. So I want to put all of those right at the beginning, something like this. Now, if we're running all of this, it's not going to work perfectly well because, well, the particles live way too long and don't move fast enough. One thing you could work with there is the time should be not 1 second, but 0.4. And now this might help a bit. Yeah, it's a little bit better. But obviously, this is something you do want to play around with. And I think we should add the gravity, or at least the Y gravity, to 50. That way you can see this a little bit better. And well, with this kind of effect, you want to experiment quite a lot. And this should probably be 100. There we go. I guess at least for our purposes, this is good enough. Now, there are so many options in here, and also you can add a custom texture. But in my case, I'm not going to worry too much about it because I don't want to get into too much detail. Instead, I want to talk about a couple of nodes that might be of interest to you if you want to go further. The first one is called a tile map. And this one allows you to create larger levels from a tile set. If you want to create something like a Mario-style platformer, you would use a tile map to create the entirety of the level. If you want to work with light, Godot has a couple of light sources. We have a directional light, a point light, and those are the two light sources. And if you want to cast shadow, it would be a light occluder 2D. That one would basically be a collision shape for light. Basically, if you want to go further, you simply look through all of the nodes and you try to have a basic idea of what you can do. For example, you could be drawing a line or create a path and have some object follow that path. You could create a polygon, you could create a skeleton, and there are quite a few things. But anyway, all of this gets much more advanced. So I'm going to leave it here, and I hope you enjoyed this entire series.
All right. Well, I guess I can try and figure out what I want on this. Ah, there's gravity. think, I don't know. I might come back to this and like add some more features and stuff, but that tutorial completed anyway, so I'll just play through the game once, see how high of a score I can get. Oh, right. Doesn't really have a full screen. Oh. Oh no. I also still haven't fixed the laser scaling. Oh my gosh. Wait. Uh-oh. When did I mess that up? Hang on. Oh boy. Oh. Whoops. I didn't think I changed it on there, but I guess I did. There. Okay, it's fixed. It kind of annoys me that you can very easily end up restarting the game as soon as you get to the game over screen, so I'm probably going to change that since I put like this, and then that'll be the end of the stream. Oops. All right. I like that it's a completely solid color, but it looks like it's moving because of looking at the moving backdrop for a long time, or like the moving asteroids. Alright. So, input map. Alright.